Hey y'all, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel, Eat, Drink, and Be Reading. And today I'm going to be talking about my April TBR. Okay, so we're just days away from April, which is absolutely bananas. The year has gone by so much faster than I would have ever expected it to. But I am so ready for spring, and it's pretty much sprung here in North Carolina, and I'm loving it. My kids and I basically live outside once they get home from school, and so it's just wonderful. I'm looking forward to so many days of reading outside. That's my favorite place to read, and it's finally that time of year again where I get to do it. I'm really pumped. This is the second time I'm filming this video. I filmed it yesterday. My kids were watching a show, it was quiet. Forgot to talk about 2 books. And so I'm refilming this morning while 2 of my kids are on spring break. So I'm hoping to get through it without too many interruptions. That being said, let's just jump right in. Book number 1 is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. I'm technically already reading this, but I'm only a few pages in. And with the week I have ahead, like between now and the start of April, I don't even think I'm going to get a third of the way through. So I'm going to count it as a book I'm reading in April. This is about Addie Larue. She, I think, makes some sort of deal, I'm not even there yet, that allows her to live forever, but as she does, nobody can remember her. So if she meets someone, like as soon as she walks away, they forget, or as soon as they fall asleep, they wake up and they've forgotten her. I've heard great things about this. I've never read V.E. Schwab. It always felt like a daunting task. She has like a really popular series, but this gives me the chance to give her a shot with like just one, not in a book in a series, but a standalone. And so I like what I've read so far, and I've heard just incredible things about this book. So I am really excited. It came from the library. I'd been waiting for a while. So yeah, that'll be how I start April. The next on my list is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read Sense and Sensibility. I want to say, yeah, what's the spring? It was May. It was during Mother's Day, I think. Weird that I remember that. But also Sense and Sensibility is also by Jane Austen. And so I was planning on trying to read this in the fall. With my accident and everything, I just didn't really read it. And so it's come back up. I want to read it. Like, it looks like spring, feels like spring. So I don't know much about it, actually. I feel like I know a little bit about a lot of the Jane Austen books. I know nothing about Persuasion, except that I've heard several people say it is their favorite Jane Austen. So I bought it last year. It's been on my list forever. And I'm excited to finally get into it. You guys, this lighting is so weird. Let me see if I don't think I can do anything about it. I think it's just the sun. Yeah, that made no difference. Okay, maybe if I just scooch over a little bit, does that help? No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm just gonna be glary, shiny on this, like my hair over here. Like I said, this is take number 2, and we're just rolling with it. Okay, I have 2 books that I think are going to come available from the library. It's possible they don't, and that I get to my April wrap-up and it's totally different. But I think at least one, if not both of them, should come available in April. The first is A Fatal Grace by Louise. This is the second in the Armand Gamache series. It's a mystery series that takes place in this fictional small town in, I think, Montreal, definitely in Canada. Called 3 Pines. I read the first one in the series, Still Life, last year and really enjoyed it. I hear that I think like book like 3, 4, or 5, they start getting really good. And I liked the first one. I don't know that I was like, oh my gosh, I love this, I have to read everything. But knowing that they're supposed to get to that point and still really enjoying it, I want to pick them up and keep going. And so and again, another book that I had gotten from the library back in the fall and just didn't pick up. And so I'm waiting for it again. And I don't know much about it other than that it's the second in this mystery series, this beloved mystery series. So here we go. Okay, book number 4. I think I might have said 2 for Fatal Grace. Book number 4 is The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I read The Huntress by Kate Quinn, and I liked it. Again, not one that I really loved, but I liked it. In general, I love historical fiction. I really like World War II historical fiction, and that's what this is. It's the story of 3 female code breakers in World War II and the years following. I think in the years following, they're trying to find a spy after the war. Actually, this book was recommended. I have a podcast that I love called The Popcast with Knox and Jamie. It's a pop culture podcast. It's my favorite one. And every week they give at the end like a green light. So something that they read or watched or saw that they loved and they think other people should read or watch or see. And Jamie had this book as her green light, had The Rose Code as her green light, and she said that she was claiming it was going to be one of the best books of the year. So I was like, okay, with a recommendation like that, an author I know I at least like, and it being World War II historical fiction, I've got to try it. So hopefully it's coming from my library in April. Okay, moving on to some nonfiction titles. The first is Finding the Flavors We Lost, From Bread to Bourbon, How Artisans Reclaimed American Food by Patrick, I don't know if that's Ka or Ku. I found this in a used bookstore a couple weeks ago and immediately was like, oh, I have to have that. Like you guys know, I love food memoirs. I love books about food, and that's it's not a memoir, but it's a book about food. About food in America. How do we return to what we used to be rather than just like mass producing processed food? So I think it'll have a little bit of history, which I love, and just a lot of conversation about food, which I also love. Yes. And then I have this tiny little thing. It's called Christ and Calamity, Grace and Gratitude in the Darkest Valley by Harold Senkbeil. Starting in February, one of the things I've been doing, both like to help me grieve and mourn over the loss of my husband, and to remind me of the goodness of God, I've been reading each month, like in the evenings, just like a few pages or a chapter of a book about grief or loss or mourning. And this is my choice for April. Yeah, it is like just about how God addresses calamities, how he's faithful in suffering. And this is my evening grief reading. That's what I've been calling it. And last but not least is the audiobook I plan to listen to. This is also a nonfiction. It's actually also a Christian nonfiction, sort of. It's about the church, at least. And that is Jesus and John Wayne, How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation by Kristin Kobes-Dumez. I think this is a lot of talk about white nationalism and the way it has become a part of the white evangelical church. As someone who is in the evangelical space and is white, like this matters. I want to learn. I want to see where we have failed, where we've made little mistakes and big mistakes. How can we move forward? How can we be more like Christ and less like white Americans? And so I've heard great things. So many people are talking about this in the church. Some that just loved it and agreed with everything and felt like it spoke to what they have seen and experienced. And then people who have said, I don't agree with all of her conclusions, but what she's talking about is so important and this should be read by many, many people in the church. So I'm finally going to try it after a few months of hearing about it. I'm going to pick it up on audiobook this month. So guys, what are you reading in April? Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk. Let's build community. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. I promise I am hoping to be a little more creative as time goes on. Thank you guys for being patient with me, and for just understanding kind of this phase of life I'm in right now and figuring things out. I'm hoping to give you videos beyond just TBRs and wrap-ups, but I'm still grateful for the opportunity to interact with you guys, even if it is less often than before, but I'm working on it. Yeah, you guys are great. I love you. We'll talk soon. Bye, y'all.